Are you controlling, critical, judgmental? Do you obsessively think about things that bother you? Do you binge eat or drink? Do you self-harm? These are all characteristics of how the different parts of us, protector parts, might come out when we're triggered. We talked a little bit last week about the different parts, the internal family system. We are comprised of many different parts. I am one person, but I have many different parts, many different sides of me. And depending on the situation, the people I'm around, the situations I'm in, different parts might be activated and triggered. We talk about this word triggered or activated. I am not triggered. Parts of me are triggered. I have many different parts. So we are going to break down the internal family systems, categories of different parts. There's three main categories that each of our parts fit into, and I will start reading. Sarai posted a beautiful visual on our Instagram if you want to check out the visual. I'm going to read off of it and then a little bit more information as well of these three different parts. So the first kind of group of parts that, or category that your parts will fall into are called exiles. These are exile parts. They're very vulnerable, sensitive parts of us, and they're described as younger, wounded inner child parts that carry the burden or the pain. They've been isolated. You might experience when these parts are activated, feelings of anger, sadness, loneliness, shame, fear, dependency, and worthlessness. There's another little explanation that I'll click on here from another definition of these exile parts. It says, they are the wounded younger inner child. They carry that burden of painful memories, and they have painful emotions and beliefs. Beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, or I'm unworthy. Can you relate? Have you ever felt this way? If you felt this way, it's usually because an exile part has been activated within you. Perhaps a person, a situation, a circumstance, some information that you got, a post you saw, that you've experienced. This inner exile was triggered. So just pay attention to that. So those are exile parts. And these go along, I mentioned, feelings of sadness, hurt, shame, loneliness, grief, loss, dependency, and anger. So that's category one, exile parts. Category number two, let me open up this other diagram that I just had. All right. The second category are manager, proactive, protector parts. These are manager, proactive, protector parts. So see what resonates with you when I read the description of these parts. See if you have these parts that kind of come up when you feel triggered or activated. It says, managers are proactive parts. They help keep your body in control in order to keep you from feeling hurt. For example, when you have an exile that's triggered, a very vulnerable part that feels hurt and sad and, scared and I'm not worthy, this manager proactive part kicks in to protect you from feelings of, those vulnerable parts. And they come in the form of controlling, being overly controlling, wanting to control everything. A perfectionist, can you relate? Very critical, judgmental, a people pleaser, a striver, a caretaker, and a planner. These are manager, proactive protector parts. They want to stop the pain and they want to take control or judge or criticize others or oneself. More descriptions of this says manager, protector parts. They're trying to keep you in control and stop you from feeling the wound that just was triggered or touched from the exile. Let me zoom in here because this is pretty small. How do you do this? Oh, well, I hope I did that right. Okay. It says controlling parts, people pleaser, inner critic, judgmental, pessimist. Do you ever get pessimistic? Self-sabotage, anxiety, procrastination, high achiever. Can you relate? So that's number two. That's the second category. Manager, proactive, protector parts. Then lastly, we have the firefighter parts. These are firefighter, reactive, protector parts. They come up, the firefighters come out when the exiles are triggered and the scab is the wound from the exile is kind of ripped off. So the firefighters come in, They try to stop the bleeding. They try to stop the pain. They want to soothe. They want to numb out. And so descriptions would be addictive parts. You can have addictions, dissociate, have really vengeful or angry actions or instincts that want to come up. You want to retreat or hide, just run away and avoid. Self-harm, violence, binge eating, binge drinking, compulsion, obsessions, and eating disorders. Those fall all under firefighter parts. What did you relate, what could you resonate with? We all have these different types of parts. So again, IFS, internal family systems, is a modality of therapy. It's a lens, so to speak, with which we look and try to understand better ourselves, particularly when we are triggered or we're off center. We're not in ourselves. We don't feel confident in ourself. And that is the goal of internal family systems, is to be in self, to be confident and grounded. And according to internal family systems, and this is the last piece of the puzzle right in the middle, is when we're in self. When we are in self, we're not activated. The exile part isn't activated in taking the keys to the car. The firefighter isn't activated in taking the keys to the car. And the manager isn't activated in taking the keys to the car. We're in self. And when we're in self, the descriptive words are, we're compassionate. We feel compassion toward ourselves and others. We feel calm. We feel curious. We feel connected, confident, courageous, creative, and a sense of clarity. All of those descriptive words, they call them the 8 C's. So again, compassion, calm, curious, connected, confident, courageous, creative, and clarity. When we're feeling those things, we're in self. We're not letting other parts of us take over and act out and override the system. We remain in control of our parts. I hope you enjoy that. So those are the 3 categories of parts according to IFS when we're activated and triggered. We have those exile parts, the wounded, very sensitive, vulnerable inner child parts. Then we have those manager, proactive, protective parts, the very critical, judgmental, controlling, self-sabotaging, people-pleasing, perfectionist parts to try to protect us from not feeling those wounds. Then we have the firefighter parts. Those are the addictive, put the fire out, numb it, drink, smoke, eat, do anything, have sex, just anything to feel the pain that came up from that old wound or from a past trauma that our exile is carrying the burden of. As always, if you have any questions, message us. You can look at Richard Schwartz, Dick Schwartz. He has free resources online, YouTube videos, guided meditations for parts work, if any of this resonated with you. Leave comments below of what resonated. Do you have a lot of manager parts? Do you have a lot of firefighter parts? And whatever you're comfortable sharing, of course. When are you in self? When are you in self? When are you calm, compassionate, creative? What situations, what people keep you in self? I want you to notice what activities, what people, what situations keep you in self, and what situations get your exiles, those vulnerable, burdened parts triggered. What situations get those firefighters coming up? This is an example. Say you get activated or triggered when you go to a certain restaurant, because that restaurant holds bad memories. Say you had a really bad fight and a breakup with your ex at this restaurant, but all of your friends want to go. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't get out of this. So you go to the restaurant, you're just triggered. The sounds, the sights, the smells, it's triggering. This exile part, this wounded part. So the firefighter might come out. I'm ordering a gallon of margaritas just to numb this feeling. That's just one example. I want you to think of examples in your life when you feel tender, vulnerable, hurt, those feelings of sadness, hurt, shame, loneliness. What do? Do you start getting controlling and judgmental and critical? Or do you want to eat and smoke and drink, watch pornography? How do you cope? What parts come up? And remember, there are no bad parts. Those sound pretty harsh, right? Who likes the addict in them? The other parts of us don't. The judgmental part, God, why do you keep doing these things? You're a loser, right? That's that inner struggle and battle of our parts, like we talked about last week. I want you to identify what parts of you are triggered in any given moment. Think about your day to day. When did you feel activated? When did you feel a disturbance in the force? When did you feel thrown off center? I want you to think about the people you were around, the social media you were consuming. What posts were you reading? What accounts were you on? What environment were you in? What sounds, sights, tastes, smells were surrounding you when you felt activated or triggered or off your center? Then I want you to go a little bit deeper. Say, for example, you're at work and there's a coworker you really don't like. You're triggered, you're activated, they activate you just simply by seeing them, hearing their voice, okay, having to be around them, sitting next to them in the meeting. And I want you to identify the feeling. Maybe perhaps it's anger, irritation. Then where do you feel that in your body? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your hands? Do you feel it in your jaw clenching? Where do you feel it in your body? Then I want you to talk to it. I want you to talk to that part. Why are you feeling, right? Focus your attention in your jaw if it's there. Focus your attention in your hands if it's there. Focus your attention on your chest and talk to that part. I hear you. Why are you so activated by this person? Well, because they're mean. They're mean to everybody. They're just such a jerk. Okay, I understand that. I understand that. How can I help you? Well, I just don't want to be around them. Okay, can we provide some space? What about them activates you? Well, they remind me of Uncle Joe. I want you to get curious. That's when we're in self. Get curious, calm, compassionate towards that part that's being activated and triggered, and talk to it. Really follow that thread down. Get to the roots of why you're triggered by that person. You'll find an answer. Trust yourself. That was a very long explanation of a very complex, well, I mean, it's complex, but it's very simple to understand once you get it. So again, I'll just end it with, you are one person, but you are comprised of many different parts. And those parts fall into categories of exiles, managers, and firefighters. The objective is to get into self, where you are compassionate, curious, calm, and have clarity, and then can observe these parts. I want you to name and identify these parts. Use the graphic that Sarai posted and start really exploring and being aware of and making those connections between your feelings of your physical body and then the thoughts that are attached, the emotions that are attached. And I want you to start dialoguing, journaling, talking to those parts, asking them questions. Don't let any other part come in and be judgmental. Get into self, compassionate understanding. The goal of IFS is to embrace all of our parts, integrate them, love them, have compassion and understanding, because there are no bad parts. They're all there to protect you. They're all there for the betterment of your whole system. We just have to get in control of them rather than them being in control of us and then bickering with one another. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.